The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 547. Mr. Somich.
New York turf pace. Huzzah.
Oh, man. We got 3 turf races at Aqueduct, New York Turf Racing. And the final is, of course, the classic end to all sequences that it drives me insane. New York bred maiden claimers.
Your favorite.
And an overdrawn field. And as we'll talk about when we get to that 5th and final leg, where's the pace? Is there pace? Will they go 26 seconds for the opening quarter mile? Who knows?
You literally would set the over on the half mile at like 50.2. But
yeah.
I probably take the over based on what's in that. It's wild how slow some of these paces are in New York. We make fun of it every year, and yet they just keep coming back, man. They keep coming back. No one wants to ship speed up there to try and go gate the wire.
Shotty asked, will it be on the turf? I think so. Friday, I know it's supposed to rain pretty heavily. I know Thursday today they're getting some rain as well, but I'm hoping it's at least good footing. It might be firm footed. Well, no, actually, it's early in the afternoon when this race gets started. It's only, I think, 3:30 when the first leg of this, which not even the Peter Pan. I think I'm more upset about the Peter Pan not being in this than the fact that we ended in New York bred maiden claimers on the turf.
I mean, Peter Pan's awfully interesting. You got Tuscan Gold who's out. I mean, I obviously like the Wine Steward because I've been high on that horse for a while, but like you could make a case for a couple other horses in that race. I mean, Deterministic in there, Antiquarian's in there. Like it's going to be a fun Peter Pan this year.
It is only going to be 6 horses, as Mike mentioned. Tuscan Gold entered that race, but then he also is going to enter the Preakness, and they did announce today that Tuscan Gold will, in fact, run in the Preakness Stakes, which outside of the winner, I think that race is wide open, or outside of Muth. I should have said the favorite, but I think I tipped my hand to who I think is going to win there. But yes, it'll also just be 6 horses because Lonesome Boy was also cross-entered in the Long Branch Stakes at Monmouth. At least we're not covering that race. That race I looked at, it's a whole bunch of who's that in that field.
Yeah, well, I'm happy we're not at Monmouth. I'll put it that way. And we'll look, the Man of War will be on turf, right? We'll get the opening race of this sequence on turf, and honestly, a softer turf may make it interesting for a couple of horses, and then we'll see what happens with the last 2 races, or the last race, and I should say the 3rd leg in the sequence. So hopefully we get turf for all 3, but if not, I bet we'll at least have one of them on.
So I will tip the hand as well. Mike and I thought that this sequence looks pretty chalky. It's races 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, Saturday, May 11th at Aqueduct. Looks very chalky. We're going to take a couple of shots here, but we each have tickets that are under $50 for 50 cents. So that's how chalky we think this will be. But hopefully, Mike, there's a couple spots I think where you can find at least some intriguing price horses.
Yeah, there are. Like it's an interesting sequence where like I wanted to press somewhere through this. Don't even really love the press idea here because I don't really I'm like the second race specifically, it's a 2-horse race. I can't separate the 2. I think you try to, but I couldn't get between them, and you really need to press. You single that race if you're going to press it. I don't really want to press through the 9 in the first race because I like a price horse. So all of a sudden, like it didn't work out for even playing like a $5 ticket through, and that's why I ended up with the 50-cent try. Like if you want to play it for $2, you want to take a stand in that second race, I think you could. And then you have the Chad Brown entry, too, in that 3rd leg where you kind of have to figure out, okay, do I think this entry is beatable or not? Because if not, then, okay, you press through there. But all of a sudden, you're pressing the favorite in the first race, the favorite in the 3rd race. And it's just like, is it worth trying to fire like that? It's a very odd sequence from a betting perspective.
Well, without further ado, we're so excited. Let's get into it, buddy. Rise up. All right, first leg of the late pick 5 at Belmont at the Big Way, or as we'll call it from here on out, Aqueduct. Race 7, the Grade 2 now. Grade 2 Man of War Stakes. We've got a field of 9 older males going 1 mile and 3/8 on the turf course, whatever condition it's in. Neither of us are singling Nation's Pride, though I have a feeling we're both making him the top pick.
No, Silver Knot on top, baby. This is a Silver Knot podcast / live show now, right? No, I'm kidding. Nation's Pride on top here for me. I gotta needle you with the Silver Knot talk since you didn't have him last time. Look, this is the best horse in the race. We just don't know if we're gonna get everything we expect from the Tory horse here. And honestly, like probably gonna go off of what, 4 to 5, 3 to 5, something like that. Like 8 to 5 absolute pipe dream. Silver Knot, the other Apple being here right now, your second choice. Probably going to sit around that 3 to 1, but you know what? This is the funeral for Silver Knot. The wedding was last time, 5 to 1. That was the time to have Silver Knot, not here. I'm going to use Nation's Pride. I'm going to put Nation's Pride on top. I don't really think we need to talk too much about Nation's Pride. It's all about whether or not you're singling here. Neither of us are because we both like a price. Do you want to start out with the 6 Greek order, or should I?
Go right ahead. You're doing a great job so far.
Look, I'm going too deep here. And when you see me go too deep a lot, it's a short price with a long shot because I really like a long shot. And Greek Order is just one of those long shots that I think is perfectly placed here to run a big race and outrun the 15 to 1 odds. I'm not sure we get 15 to 1. I think that might be a little bit of a pipe dream as well. But look, Belmont does not overly aggressively place horses. That is why he's 24% in graded stakes races. That race at Keeneland, which was Greek Order's first race in the U.S., clearly was a prep for this race, right? Like there is no doubt about it. Not only did they only go a mile, which, by the way, this horse clearly wants more than a mile. If you look at the last 3 races in Europe, they're at 1.25 miles, 1.125 miles, 1.25 miles. Everything points to this horse running significantly better second off the bench here. You're getting a monster price. Was bet in that effort. Edmund Harlan won. Dude in Colorado was second. The horse had a ton of trouble. Didn't start well. Had to steady. The trip was bad. Like everything could possibly go wrong for Greek Order. Went wrong in that race. Now you're getting the added distance. This was clearly the target. Clearly the target when they brought this horse over to the U.S. There is no reason why you run like that in an allowance and then jump into a grade 2 when you're I would say not aggressive trainer like Belmont, unless the whole plan was to run in the grade 2 the whole time and you wanted to get a race into the horse first. So Greek Order, one of those horses I think is a very, very live long shot at 15 to 1. I will almost guarantee that I will have a 9-6 cold exacta in this race as well, because I want to try and find ways to get value out of Greek Order. And to me, the 2 ways to do that are go too deep in the pick 5, try and beat Nation's Pride, and then play a cold exacta 9-8, maybe even play a cold try 9-8 or 9-6-8 as well, because like it feels like Greek Order is the horse that could surprise at a price in here.
Yeah, I love everything you mentioned about it. I went to deep diving as well on this horse, like for pedigree, because it just has the one North American side. And a lot of American viewers and listeners might not be familiar with the dam side. The dam side is all distance. The full older brother to Greek Order won multiple times at 1.25 miles, including a Group 3 race at Royal Ascot. So that horse had a ton of potential. And then, of course, is also by Kingman. So we know that that's going to be just a super serious stallion whenever he sends horses over here. So I'm with you. I went 9-6 in here. I did also add Silver Knot in here. This is the last horse on my ticket. And again, Mike and I are both under $50. So I was like, you know what? For under $50 still, I'll put Silver Knot on this spot here. Maybe last time out, yes, it was the wedding. This might be the funeral part, but I think his odds will float up again because of Nation's Pride being in here. But that was the first time he's ever gone 3 turns, was that race at Keeneland. He's going to go 3 turns again here. He's got Pratt again here. I don't think he's going to be on the lead. And it was a huge change for him in terms of his running style, but also just a very different looking horse than we had seen as a 3-year-old. Maybe he just as a 4-year-old is getting better. So I put him on. But again, last horse on the ticket for me for a very short price ticket, because I do have a single in the next leg.
Yeah, I mean, how good does that Hollywood Derby look now? The program trading comes back and wins a grade 1, and now you have Silver Knot there winning off that effort as well, first off the layoff. Look, I like Silver Knot. I just think we're adding 4 pounds, and this field is better. And that was really the reason why I ended up not using Silver Knot. I have Silver Knot in third, and I had Cortez in fourth, the 2-horse. Like I will be playing a 9 over 6-8 try. I'll be playing a 9-6 cold exact. Like it feels like Silver Knot runs second or third here, and then the 6 is the price. We'll see what happens here. It's just like, it's hard for me to get around Nation's Pride. And then if I do, I want to use a price. And that's why Silver Knot couldn't make the ticket.
Real quick, the top 3 finishers from the Grade 2 Pan American, which is a 1.5 mile race at Gulfstream on the Florida Derby undercard. They all show up here. That's the 2 Cortez who won. Harry Hood was second. Tawny Port was third as a big favorite there. If you remember that race, Irad was on Tawny Port and got him in traffic trouble because he's Irad, and then had to send him inside. And the horse finished okay. Cortez, I thought, had a dream trip once he was a little rank early, but as soon as he calmed down, it was just the beautiful trip that if you bet him, you wanted to see. But I couldn't really separate those horses. Again, I thought the winner had the best trip, Tawny Port. If you're going to add a horse from that race in here, maybe it'd be Tawny Port, but I also don't think he's as good as either Appleby horse. And we both think that there's upside in Greek Order.
Yeah, to me that's the real issue. Like if I of those three, I like the two. Cortez, I agree, got a perfect trip. The way that this sets up for him, you may get some speed again. Tawny Port wants to be a little more forwardly placed in these races. I could make a case for Tawny Port, I guess, but the problem here is Nation's Pride sitting there. And when we're playing pick fives, you have to pick the winner of the race. There's no race on the page from either of them that wins this race. And so you're like essentially projecting a big time step forward if you think that you're going to see either of those be able to pick up the victory. And for me, that was the biggest issue. It's like, I just don't see the step forward for the 2 or the 5 to be able to beat the 9.
Car Ramrod does bring up a good question and something I thought about as well. Junior Alvarado is named on other rides at Aqueduct this weekend. That's usually Mott's go-to rider, but he's going with Liscano. What did you think about that decision?
I think this 10 needed to hold on instead of quitting like a donkey. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised. I thought that it would be Alvarado, but I also don't know. Like, I don't read too much into the jockey thing. Like, the fact that Irad rode this horse last time tells me it's a real horse, right? And like, if it wasn't Irad, if it was some no-name jockey, and then you come back with Liscano, I'd be a lot more concerned. But the fact that it was Irad, and then you're coming back here, I'm not going to overread into the situation.
And we both think Liscano is a more than capable rider, so no issue for either of us taking him. The second leg of the late pick 5 at Aqueduct on Saturday, May 11th, race number 8. It's an maiden special weight for 10 New York bred fillies, 3 and up, sprinting 6 furlongs on the dirt. Looked at the wrong race for a second. Where are you going on top?
I'm still pissed off at Aqueduct race. They crawl up front, and the 10 actually runs well, but this 2 horses fly by. I'm going to go with the 4 horse Mulkey on top here. Second time out for Brad Cox. The 3 and the 4, really tough to separate in this spot. I think the 4 is a little faster. That's the general reason why I'm going toward the 4 here versus the 3. There's not a lot of horses that want to pass in here. You go through this and you're like, who's going to be able to come from off the pace? And like, I don't know. Maybe it's the 10 who's a first time starter, Nikki Brainburst. It's hard to find a horse that really wants to pass anyone. And when that's the case, I'm going to look toward the more forwardly placed horses. In this case, to me, that's 3 and the 4. I think Mulkey's a little faster. I thought the horse got bet, ran pretty well, and just kind of got beat last time. Second time out now, you're expecting a step forward. Cox is 32%. Second time out. Franco comes back, rides the horse again. So I'll put the 4 on top here, but I thought it was hard to separate the 2.
I had them flipped in order, and this is where I took my stand. I'm going to go with the 3 as a single on this ticket here. And you're right. It was a little hard to separate between the 2 of them. The 3, the finishing time for her race was slower than last out than it was for Mulkey by almost a second there. However, watching the replays, the 3 was really pulling really hard early on, and Jose Gomez couldn't really get her to settle down. But Irad, maybe he's able to get her to settle a little better. She'll now be second off of that very long layoff. She's never had 2 starts in a row without a break. And then also, I thought it was pretty notable that the winner of that race last time out, Peony, has actually defeated 4 different horses in this field right here, including Granadilla. So I went with her. Also, Irad, when he rides for Dutrow at Aqueduct, 4 for 7. They're 35% overall. Dutrow, at least at the time of my PPs here, 5 for 9 with 8 of 9 in the money at this meet so far. I think he's finally finding his form, as they say. So he is. I'm going to go with Granadilla here, kind of playing the connections. You do have Brad Cox and Manny Franco. I wonder a little bit with Mulkey if she might be better stretching out a little bit. She is by gun runner, but her dam star is Rock Slide, and he's a son of AP Indy. Rock Slide was a dirt router and a turf router too, but mostly a route horse overall. So I wonder if maybe 6 furlongs is too short. If this race is 7, I might be looking at Mulkey instead of Granadilla, but I think we both need to hope these horses don't run each other into the ground, because that could also very well happen.
Yeah, I mean, the 8 Eastern Star is going to go 2. Stumbled last time out, or else that pace would have been a little quicker last time for Mulkey as well. And that's the thing. But you go through this, and it's who's going to pass. Like, who is going to be the horse? And so I don't hate the idea if you're like sitting there and you're like, well, shit, I'm going to take a shot with some first-time starters here. Like, I don't hate that idea, because the horses that have run aren't very good. And like you look at the inside, no thanks. Like you go through here and it's hard to find anyone who really wants to win a race. And so then it comes down to who's fastest early. I guess maybe you could say that the 5 Spirit of Esther has a little bit of ability to pass horses, but that horse got rocked by the 3 last time. And like, so it's just like, it's hard to really get excited about any of these horses. And then you have the 8 Eastern Star is the most experienced. Like that horse just doesn't like to hold on to leads even when it has it. So yeah, to me, the 10 Nikki Brainburst is the next in if you're trying to find a price here, because you just don't know. And I'd take the unknown over what I know with the rest of this field.
And the 10 was one I kind of wanted to make a case for, but you have Katie Davis, who's a lower percentage jockey, and a trainer who's over his last 25 first-time starters. So, the 5 is who I looked at if you wanted a long shot in here to use, just because Carlos Martin's adding blinkers, and that's a 20% move with a positive ROI, really strong ROI. So maybe that's the way you go if you're looking for it. But yeah, Mike and I was 3-4 in here, single to 3. Mike's going to be 4-3. We'll move on to the third leg of the late pick 5 at Aqueduct on Saturday, May 11th. Race number 9. We're going back on the turf, and this one's a bit of a doozy. This is an N2X optional claiming event. Like I said, mile on the 16th on the turf. 9 older males, 5 MTOs. So if this race comes off the turf, it's still going to be a pretty full field. You see here that Bologna and Danzig with the Stars, they're 1-1A. Coupled entry because they have the same co-owner in Michael Dubb, even though it's Dutch Row training 1, Chad Brown trading the other. All that to say, where'd you go on top?
I mean, I put the entry on top. Like, I'm not overly excited about the entry in this spot. I am going to go 3 deep here because I do think we can find some horses that may be able to beat it. The pace is going to be a key part of this race, but like, these are the 2 best horses, and it's frustrating to me that they're an entry because I would much rather have Bologna than I would at Dancing with the Stars. But we're going to get both, and so you kind of sit there like, well. I do think that they both be my top 4 in this race, but I would have Bologna on top. I'd have Dancing with the Stars 4th. And so I would have liked to have a little bit of a way to get out of these horses. But the fact that they're paired together, again, like it's going to deflate the price on both of them. If you want to single here, you can single here and press through a ticket if you're going to single the last leg as well. But like, yeah, to me, it's hard to get around the entry, but I don't really love them at 8-5. Like never an entry I'm going to bet, never one that I'm like excited about playing. It's just, I like them both, and so I'm going to use the entry here on top. Did you have the entry on top? Did you go somewhere else?
Yep, yeah, I had the entry on top. I ended up going, well, I guess 2 entries deep, 3 horses deep, but I'll take the freebie with Dancing with the Stars. I'm with you that Bologna was my top pick here. Hasn't run well in a lot of his races, but he's been kind of a harder ride. He does not easily respond, but he did win his only race over this course, the Woodhaven, going a mile. And the second best race of his career since he came to North America, I thought, was last out in that Keeneland allowance. The winner was a runaway gate to wire. Nobody was catching it. Rallying to get second there, I thought was sneaky good here, and also showed that the horse could relax and respond when he was told to go. So I'm hoping that means Bologna's got it figured out, but I also don't know what kind of price we're going to get on this horse.
Yeah, I mean, Northern Vader, pretty good horse for Cherie DeVoe too. So like that, it's not a bad horse to run second to there for Bologna. So I agree with you. Like that to me is the more interesting part of this entry. I love Dancing with the Stars too. Really fun New York bred, but Dancing with the Stars much better at Saratoga than other places, and better with Luis Saez up, to be honest. Like he has ridden that horse very well. If you go back, you go through the PPs, the number of wins Dancing with the Stars has had, specifically at Saratoga with Saez over, I think it's the inner turf. It's one of the 2. I think it's the inner, not the melon.
Inner turf.
It's interesting how you just have certain horses that love certain courses, and Dancing with the Stars, one of those horses that loves the inner turf at Saratoga. Second horse on a ticket for me, I'm going to go to the 8 Bodes Maker here. 9-year-old gelding, getting 8-1 here on this horse. And I look through here and you're like, how do we surprise? It's Bodes Maker on the turf, because you go through like the dirt races versus the turf races. I think the turf races significantly better. You look at this horse's career, it's run 13 times on the turf, 7 wins, 3 seconds, 1/3. So has had a lot of success there. Headed back to the turf last time, got a pretty big price of 14-1. A little worried this is the funeral version of this horse, but we are switching over to a different circuit here to head up to New York after winning at Laurel there. There's enough pace for this horse to be able to close. This horse also has some pace. If you go back to like the Monmouth races, the Delaware races, was always within a couple lengths of the lead. So it's only more recent that we've seen Bodes Maker be a dead closer. So I'm interested in the 8 a little bit here at a bit of a price.
Third up for me, didn't make the ticket, but I did consider this horse. I'm also worried that, okay, that was a good effort at Laurel, but this is a higher circuit than facing Laurel.
Yeah.
he was running against optional claimers, but he was in for the tag each of those 3 races off of the claim, which it worked out. Nobody ended up touching him. And you're right, his turf races are his best, but he's 9. I'm worried that was his absolute ceiling, and I think he needs to take a step forward to beat all of the horses that are in this spot. It might not be, because this is a very blasé group, really,
Yeah.
including Baloney. So I understand why you're taking him. And I still think 8-1 is a good price, because I think it will float up, because I think Baloney and Danzig with the Stars are going to get heavily bet.
Yeah, and like hopefully the 8-1. I think you're going to see more like 14-1, 15-1, like that. I think you might see double the price, just because there's a lot of reasons to A, bet the entry, and B, not bet the 8 here. Like you said, stepping up from into a tougher circuit, technically a tougher group as well. So I could see Bodersmaker end up going off with quite a bit of higher price. Last horse on for me was Conman, the 2 horse here. This is my speed play. It's the 2 or the 5. One of them's getting the lead. Dylan Davis is on the rail. He usually sends from that spot. So I'm going to use the 2 as a gate to wire threat here as well.
I had him 4th. So again, I don't hate the play there. For me, I didn't want to play him. I didn't see him necessarily as like a gate to wire candidate, which you now made a very good case for that. I think that's the way he wins, because his races at 1 turn are much better than his races overall at 2 turns. He did a great job facing New York breds the last summer. And that was facing older horses too, even as a 3-year-old. But the one time he went 2 turns in that group was at Saratoga, and that was the one time he fell flat on his face. You look back, previous Gulfstream Park Open Company, 2 turns, flat on his face. Aqueduct Monmouth Park last or 2 years ago, 2 turns, flat on his face. So that kind of lends to, again, he could be the speed horse that goes gate to wire here. But the horse for me that I'm going to use here, I'm actually going to use the horse right to his outside. The number 3, Running with Scissors, going to be running second off the layoff. Just missed at this distance at Gulfstream Park last time out during the championship meet. Rosario's back aboard. Last time he rode this horse, it was last fall over this course in distance. Came from way off the pace to win, but he's got tactical speed. We've seen him do really well in other spots, when he runs a lot closer to the pace. And overall, the horse is 2 for 4 with a 3rd on this track, and he's got to win in a second and 2 tries at the distance. So I used him, but again, kind of like with your 8 horse, this horse is 8. I think last time out, we're about at the ceiling. We need to go way back to May of 2023 when he had a buyer that's good enough to beat all of these horses.
Yeah, I mean, and that Aqueduct race that you mentioned, that was against State Bred. This is Open Company, so a little different there than what we saw last time. I just can't with Rosario on this horse. Like if I think the pace isn't going to be very fast, and we've already seen him turn this horse into a closer before, I'm not willing. The problem is, if I thought Running with Scissors would actually be forwardly placed, if I thought that this horse could sit right behind Conman and right behind the 5 and sit there, like that's a different story. But if he's going to sit back where Baloney and Dancing with the Stars and Bodersmaker all are, they're all better horses than he is. And that was for me the problem, is like if I envision the trip I think Rosario is going to give, since we've already seen him do it, I think that this horse is a cut below those other 3 horses. So I couldn't get there, especially at 5-1. This might be some Rosario prejudice, to be honest with you. It's like the reason I end up not using this horse, but I don't want to deal with that trip that I think I'm going to end up with Running with the Scissors. But like you said, likes the course. I mean, 2 for 4 over the course. You mentioned the win over the distance, so all positive things there. Ocean Atlantique, the 6 horse, one neither of us are using. I considered for a while. I've used this horse a lot. He doesn't like to win all that much. That's kind of my biggest knock here, especially when it's like, hey, you're playing the entry. Do you want to go with the second favorite as well? Like, not really. That was my biggest issue with Ocean Atlantique.
Same. Yeah, I couldn't take him at this price. It's one of those things too that Saez and Maker, you would think, I mean, 17% isn't bad, but the $1.37 ROI when they team up together, that's where I'm like, God, they're usually on the short priced horses. And this horse he had the 1 run last fall at Churchill on Breeders' Cup weekend where he got the win. Before that, he ran at Kentucky Downs, but his form, he seems to be cycling backwards in his form. And I'm wondering if we're just he's 7 years old. He hasn't had a break since summer of 2022. He might just be running himself slowly down the ladder here. And I think that we're going to go here, not run well. I think next time it's straight claimers for this horse. Yeah.
And I wouldn't be shocked if he wins. Like that's the thing. I'm just not willing to play him at 7-2. Like if he's 8-1 here, I probably would be using Ocean Atlantique again. But at this price, I couldn't get behind it.
Curtis Manless says, why bet horses when you can get Paul Skeens Rookie of the Year at 17-1?
Simple. You can bet both.
I mean, that is a hell of a mustache on a 21-year-old who's apparently dating Olivia Dunn. So good for him, I guess. I don't know who she is, but she sounds like she'd be attractive. So
I'm surprised you don't know who she is. That seems like someone that Magic would know.
The Olivias that I'm attracted to are a lot more age appropriate for me. We'll say that much. The penultimate leg of the Aqueduct Lake Pick 5 at Saturday, May 11th. Race number 10. We're back on the dirt. It's an N1X optional claiming event for 9 older fillies and mares running a 1-turn mile. Where'd you go on top?
I went with the 2-horse pitch clock here. 5-2 favorite, so nothing too exciting. A horse was able to break its maiden 2-back, came back at Aqueduct last time, and just looked like a horse that was facing winners for the first time. Got overbet in the situation, which is what we consistently see after you have a very good maiden claim or maiden special weight winner go in New York. They always get overbet the first time they get into allowance company, and just kind of was up against it there. I think it's a better setup here today. We've seen this horse be able to not go to the lead and win, and I like the fact that Pratt gets back aboard. If you go back to the 2 races, one at Churchill, then at Belmont, Pratt rode both of those times. McCarthy got into a little bit of a speed duel last time. I don't think Pratt makes the same mistake. I think it's much more of the ride 2-back that we see for pitch clock versus the trip last time out. And if that's the case, I do think this is a better horse. And like, especially when you look at like the 3 Sweet Mystery, who's your second choice in here, hard pass for me. Like that is exactly the horse I don't want to play in these pick 5 type sequences. And Sweet Mystery beat pitch clock last time out. But when you look at it, it's like pitch clock has the chance to get better. Sweet Mystery is just going to keep doing the exact same thing. And someone's going to come get him. Someone in this race is going to beat that horse. I have no interest in 7-2.
Vashon's excited. Sweet Mystery being ignored, and I'll get about 6-1 here. You might. It's a pass on Sweet Mystery for both of us. So if you do feel strongly about it, I think you might get a decent price. I'm going to take a shot against pitch clock. I'm going to play against her in this spot. It might come back to bite me in the ass, but I watched that race last out when 2-back at Belmont when she got the win with Pratt. And I was like, oh, it's off the pace is what she needs to do. Pratt was riding. Love it. 1-turn mile. She was begging horses to come beat her. She finished that final quarter mile in just under 26 seconds. And the horses coming to get her were just kind of stunningly, actually almost got her right at the end, but came flying. But I just didn't like the way that she finished that. I think that she's better, a little shorter than what this mile turn distance. So I'm going to actually take a shot. My first pick, I'm going to go with number 5, Broderie at 9-2. This is a Florida bred daughter of Gervin who last 2 races against Florida breds ended up winning them both comfortably, 6.5 furlongs, 6 furlongs. But note that race 2-back, she was a maiden, and she beat N1X Company by 3.25 lengths. Both times that she won, she was ridden by Jose Ortiz. Jose is still riding at Churchill for the long weekend. He drew this short straw between the Ortiz brothers. So Irad is going to be up here to ride the horse. Same agent. Love the move over here. He does well for Fernando Abreu, and the horse seems to be working well out of that last win. I am hoping, I know it's a stretch, right? Literally a stretch for 6.5 to a mile here, but her dam under over 6 wins in her career. All of them came routing between 1 and 1.25 miles. So there's distance pedigree underneath. She's got the off the pace running style that I think needs to succeed here. So give me the 5 Broderie on top.
Yeah, Broderie, the only other horse I'm using here. I'm going 2 deep. I'm going 2-5. It makes a ton of sense. The horse stretching out, being able to add the distance. Big question for me, can we stalk if we are stretching out? I don't want Broderie on the lead. I want Broderie sitting in 3rd, sitting in 4th, something like that. If he is able to, if she is able to sit there and Irad's able to get her in position, I think she's got a big shot in this race. I agree with you. Pitch clock was slow coming home, but I can't wait for how you defend your 7 Midtown Lights here. Who went 26 and 27 in her last 2 races, going a mile, coming home.
The last one was, it was a little. Hey, it wasn't the best. Slow. It wasn't the best finish there, but I'm getting a much better price. 8-1 versus 5-2.
Are you though? Are you going to get a better price?
Well, I think so. 8-1 versus 5-2. She will get that down a little bit. It's Brad Cox and it's Manny Franco. So you would assume she was favored 2 and 3 back in her starts. But she's the last horse that I'm using in this race because you brought her up. She's running with blinkers for the second time. And I think that's the key. She was able to win last out versus New York bred. She's got 3 career wins. All of them have come here at Aqueduct. She's 2-time stakes placed over this course as well, which I think is impressive. And 2 for 3 going an overall mile over this course is why I'm using her. So This wasn't one I was in love with, so you called her out, rightfully so. But she was third of the three horses I'm using here.
I like the 2-time stakes placed over this course, finishing third twice in the mud, going 6.5 and 7.
No, she was second. That the
I'm
7
sorry.
furlong was at Belmont, but both times were in the mud. So if we get a muddy course, maybe that helps her out. But I'm not doing a great job of selling this, am I? No, I did. It's Brad Cox, it's Manny Franco. I think this horse is at least going to have a good sell. And I like the second time blinkers angle. That's really what kind of won me over with her. The last one on for me, a horse that she lost to 2 starts back, the number 9, Bone Adieu. This horse, since Rudy Rod claimed her for $30,000 out of her maiden victory. By the way, the only time she ever ran for a tag. All 6 starts for Rudy Rod. She's been protected. They all came at this course and this distance. She's got 3 wins and 2 seconds. 3 wins and 3 seconds. That's how math works in that span there. She hasn't won if she hasn't been on the early lead. And that's kind of going to be a knock for her. But I think that she's going to be she'll have a good effort here. I expect her to get sent. If this is a spot where nobody else decides to go, I can trust that Rivera is going to just say, go fast early. And she is a New York bred, but she's got a win in 3 seconds and 4 starts versus Open Company as well. So horse for course angle for sure with Bone Adieu, but maybe it'll pay off.
Yeah, I don't hate Bone Adieu here, especially if it rains. Horse has run its career best race in the slop there. I do think I couldn't get there with the 9. I had the 9 and the 8 as my next 2 in after the 2 and the 5. I think the 8's a little more interesting because I can point to races, which the problem is the races that I would point to are with Jamie Ness at Parks and Laurel. So it's do you really believe that those are the races of that horse now? That's the big question mark. If you can run back to those for DePaz, the 8 makes some sense. I think the 9 makes some sense if you think the 9 can get loose. I don't think the 9 gets loose. I think the 8 is a problem for the 9. And that kind of lessens both of their chances to be able to win the race. I think that kind of sets it up for the 2, the 5. And I don't hate your 7. I think it's funny when you're knocking the 2 horse for going 26 when you're taking a horse that's been slower twice in the last 2 times going a mile.
5-2 horse in 26 seconds versus 8-1 in 26 seconds.
Yeah, but the 7 horse is what it is. The 2 horse can improve. There's no chance you're getting a massive jump from the 7. The 2 could absolutely run off the screen here. That to me is the big difference.
And Shadi must be busy at work because she's in the chat to start the show, and she'll be the first one to tell you leave Pratt off of a pick 5 at your own peril. It'll really come back to bite you in the ass if you're not ready for it. But the 5th and final leg of the Backwaduct late pick 5, Saturday, May 11th, race 11. It would not be a New York sequence ending in the pick 5 if it didn't have New York bred maidens claimers on the turf. This one has 12 of them, fillies and mares, plus 2 also eligibles, plus 2 MTOs. Supposed to go on Mount 16th on the inner turf. They're in for $40,000 tags. Where'd you go on top?
Give me the number 9, Bossy Jeans on top. Great name, by the way.
Yeah.
Saez, Maker, first off the layoff here. You mentioned the drop. So we were in State Bred, $70,000 maiden special weight company last time. We're close to the pace, but didn't set it. Now you add Saez. I think this is the horse that ends up going forward. And there is not a lot of pace in this spot. And so I do think it is important that you try and find who is going to be forwardly placed. I think Bossy Jeans gets a nice trip here out of that 9 post, 5-1. Not a bad price there. So I think the 9 has a big chance to take this field gate to wire because Saez, of everybody in this field, if I told you someone was going to send, it's Saez or Davis, right? Those are clearly your 2 send jockeys from this group.
Yeah, but we also said about the Kentucky Derby, and I'm still waiting for him to press go on Dornoch. He waited a little too long, and that hurt him. Anyways, I'm not salty about that because I didn't have Dornoch bet. Not my top pick. My second choice, almost my top pick. Mike Maker dropping from maiden special weight to maiden claimers 29%. It's 23% when he does so on turf, but that's still very strong odds there. And I thought that she showed improvement in those in those 3 turf starts, including last out. Over the course and distance, top pick for me, let's go to the rail. Sendera, Linda Rice, 8-1. This is a daughter of Gun Runner, drops back to maiden claimer company. She finished second behind a runaway gate to wire winner in the slop here, 2 back. The only other time she's been in for a tag. So I think we've learned this is a suitable level for her. She never tried turf. But breeding says turf should really move her up. 3 older siblings all broke their maidens routing on the turf. The dam sire, See the Stars. He won 8 of 9 starts on turf, including 6 straight Group 1s, which just insane how good he was. The Grand Dam Santa Teresita was a turf winner. She also was a Grade 1 synthetic route winner. So turf should definitely move this horse up. I hope we stay on it. And if we do, this is my top pick.
Yeah, I looked at the one for a while because the breeding is just scream turf, and we haven't been there yet. So it would make you think you're going to see a lot better effort from Sendera here. But Linda Rice has the bad stuff right now. Can we talk about that? I mean, she was just like in fuego, and now she's won for this meet. And it's just amazing to see how it comes and goes. She's about to run 2 here in the next race at Belmont, the big day, which are probably the 2 best horses. We will see if either of them win. It has been crazy how cold Linda Rice has after she had been so hot for a long time. I also don't like the fact she stinks on turf first time. Like that to me is it's a problem for her. She's 6% out of 34 starts first time turf. And then the rail I don't think is the best spot for this horse. Like sometimes you want horses to draw the rail. The trip could get a little dicey here for what you've seen. The horse doesn't have a ton of speed. Maybe you end up getting a nice trip here, but I just haven't seen enough from Sendera to put her on the ticket. 5, Once an Eagle was second choice for me here. This is the other Christophe Clement. Dylan Davis rides. I mentioned the 2 jockeys I think send. It's either the 5 or the 9. Pratt rode this horse 3 times. We've had a nice little break here. So we haven't run since September of 2023. Pratt rode this horse at Saratoga twice. The horse was bet in all 3 races. So there was expectation for this horse even after failure, which generally tells you that there was a pretty decent buzz around a horse. Clement coming back off the layoff, 24%. And let's not forget the little Dylan Davis Clement run we had a while ago. He gets good horses for Clement. Rosario obviously rides the 1A horse here, and Rose Summer with the 3. But Davis generally doesn't ride for Clement unless the horse is at least a little bit live. I think Once an Eagle, who adds Lasix for the first time here, has a shot at taking the field gate to wire and should get a pretty good trip on a horse that was heavily liked last summer. So I think 6-1, a nice price here when you're dropping down and dropping into the maiden claiming company.
Yep, third pick for me in this spot. Outside of the top 2, I was like, okay, start looking for class droppers that don't look absolutely horrible. That's kind of where I landed with the 5. And then next up for me after that, I know you used as well as the other Clement, which is the 9-5 favorite, which I looked at this horse and I was like, oh, not a lot to like about it. It's by Matoli. Matoli is 1 for 31 so far with turf routers. That's not good. 9-5 after being 17-1 on debut at Tampa. That's not
great.
Clement gets Hall of Fame jockey Joel Rosario to ride. They're 23% with a positive ROI together at Aqueduct. If you ignore the sire, Matoli, and you kind of have to use this horse, you look at the dam side. This horse is a half sister to Beyond Brilliant. If you remember him in California from a couple of years ago, that horse was 4 for 10 on turf, won the grade 1 Hollywood Derby and 2 different grade 2 turf routes. So there is plenty of turf route breeding underneath for this horse. And also the dam sire First Defense won his only start on turf. So there is turf breeding and turf route breeding here. You just got to look at the right half of the page or the bottom half of the page. Do not look at that sire page.
Yeah, you got to ignore the Matoli part of it. Diaz also rode at Tampa. That's generally a good sign when it's a Clement horse. When it's a brown horse, like that's who you want to be or one of the guys you want to be riding down there. So that kind of tipped the hand that Clement thought this horse was decent. Now you come up here, you drop in, you get Rosario. Like it all makes sense as to why the 3 is 9-5. And I do think the 3 has a legitimate shot here. I ended up going 4 deep. I took a little bit of a shot here at Holder Close, another great name, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
The 7 horse here. Look, this horse has run 1 time on the turf. It was at Aqueduct. It was in a maiden special weight. The horse ran a pretty good 5th at 100-1. Yep, we'll take a swing. Like we get 12-1. We know the horse can handle the course, handle the distance. Now we get the class relief here. I'd like that we get first time Lasix as well. Like there's enough reason for me to think this horse could take a step up. And I don't think it has to take that big of a step. That's the other part of it. Like if we just improve by, 5% from last fall, this horse is right in the mix at a big number at 12-1. So I'll take the 7 Holder Close as the last horse on my ticket.
So I made a slight adjustment. I now am over $50 with my ticket because I did add this horse on. It was one I was considering, and then I saw that she used it. And okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Another horse with some really nice turf route breeding on the dam side. Dam was a 3-time winner on turf and then is a half to a horse named Nico's Dream. She was a 4-time winner on turf, including a stakes race open company at Gulfstream Park. Even though she was by Central Banker, a son of Spitestown, was actually very good at turf routing. That was where Nico's Dream did his best running, and also the dam. So I'm with you because of that one race. Is like it might not have been much. It was November in Aqueduct. It was Breeders' Cup weekend, but That's the best race on the page, I think. So we might actually not don't even think that is for sure the best race on the page. So
Well,
I understand using the horse.
only a head behind Bossy Jones, who's my top pick too. Like for 5-1, getting 12-1 on the horse, is only a head behind. So I thought that was a little interesting. One question for you here. Let me drink. The only horse who is not 3. Is that enough to use? Is that like just the fact that you have 2 years of experience and growth on the rest of the field? Is that enough of a reason to just use the 8?
Absolutely not. I think if anything, it's a detriment. This horse is 5. She's still a maiden. She's over 15.
Okay. Just throwing it out there.
Well, that's fine. And Ramon Vasquez is a good jockey, but there's nothing to. I mean, you could point to what the Laurel Park maiden 16K when she finished second as the favorite, beaten 2.5. Like,
well, the 63 buyer on turf, I think, is the highest buyer of any horse in the race.
That's just because the one hasn't tried turf yet.
Yeah, well,
and after this, it probably still will be. I'm going to use one more horse, another one trying turf for the first time, taking a shot because of the price. The number 11, Raining at the Beach. Class dropper, debuted at Aqueduct going 6.5 furlongs on the dirt for Todd Pletcher. It's a Rapoli stable homebred, by Uncle Mo. Okay, all good signs, right? The horse was the 5th betting choice in a field of 7. That's not good sign. And then you watched it run and you went, well, that's why the horse was 5th in the betting, because it only got 5th because 2 other horses were apparently quarter horses and couldn't make the distance. Did not run a lick. However, it was made special weight. Drops now in for 40K. I'm really hoping that this is a spot where she can take a step forward. Flavien Prat takes them out. I think that that's a pretty significant sign because he actually rode the 5 who we're both using in each of those first 3 starts in New York last summer, and is now going to be riding this one for Rudy Rod when he doesn't, hardly ever ride for Rudy Rod. The Uncle Mo's Dam, 2 for 3 on turf, all routes with a stakes placing. Uncle Mo produces 15% turf routers, including grade 1 winners in Mo Forza and Mo Tom. So I think this horse is worth a bullet at 10-1. Again, we're both very cheap on our tickets just because we're trying something new. This also might be a case where we get done with this race and maybe someone claims her, maybe they don't, but either way, they just go, yeah, this one's probably better off as a mom.
Yeah, I don't hate the idea, especially since Cancel rode in the debut, so you're not like shocked the horse didn't take a bunch of money. You don't see the Pletcher-Cancel combination all that often, and I like the Pratt pickup. To me, is what's interesting, right? The horse was not a cheap horse to have. Now that we're dropping in, you're getting Pratt. Like there are worse options to go during this sequence. I'm taking this 11 at a price.
Neither of us used another great named horse in here. The number 6, Adult Entertainer. I could nothing at all to like about the horse, but a great name.
Phenomenal name. Dropping in class. There you go.
Yeah. After it was 62-1, 57-1. I mean, you'll get better than 30-1, I think, off of this. I don't even know who the jockeys are that have been on this horse before or is named to ride on Saturday.
Yeah, Omar Hernandez Moreno. He's a classic, 1 for 50-ish type meet jockey in New York every year.
He's 2 for 53 right now to start the
sounds
the
about
year.
Right. Yeah, he wins about 1 race every meet at each of the different tracks, and it always pisses you off.
Hopefully it's not this race because we didn't use the horse. That's going to be over this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks for joining us to talk about the Aqueduct Late Pick 5 Saturday, May 11th. Again, this is a sequence that Mike and I both admit could be very chalky. That's why you see that we're going to have small tickets. If you're listening, we'll read them off one more time. If you're watching, take a look down below. I'm going to start going 6, 8, 9, single the 3, then 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, then 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11 for $54, Mr. Somich.
I am going to start out my ticket here with 6, 9, with 3, 4, with 1, 2, 8, with 2, 5, with 3, 5, 7, 9. It costs you $48 for 50 cents.
Head low. Adult Entertainer dropping in class makes it a prostitute.
I mean, it is for sale.
Oh, we missed that joke too. Oh, well done. Well done, everybody. That makes me feel so much better about this sequence. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. I know it was a special early time, but that is because I found out the day after we did Magic Mike, and I said, yeah, we'll be back 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific. They asked me to come in tonight, so I will be on FanDuel TV from 5 to 8 p.m. with Kurt Hoover, more likely 6 to 8 p.m. because they're going to be all Churchill all the time. for that first hour block. And that usually just means that Kurt and I sit there and he tells me all sorts of funny stories about John White and how many cases of wine they've blown through together. So I'll be enjoying that, but then tune into FanDuel 6 to 8. I'll be on with him. Mike, what about you? What are your plans for VSiN this weekend?
We've got a 2 to 3 Pacific, 5 to 6 Eastern tomorrow on Sharp Money. And then we've got the handle from noon to 3 Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, talking everything NBA, NHL, and horse racing bets.
Who you got right now to win the Stanley Cup?
The winner of the Stars Avs series. Don't know who's going to win that series, but I do think the winner of that series takes on Florida in the finals.
They just got to not beat each other up in that one. I like where you're going with that. I'm just worried that they're going to come out of that all beaten and busted.
Well, the thing is you watch those two teams play, and then you watch last night's atrocious hockey game between Edmonton and between Vancouver, and you're like, I cannot wait to unload the clip on the winner of Avs Stars against the winner, hopefully against Edmonton. I really would love Edmonton to win because, like, you talk about expected goals in the NHL playoffs. Generally, like, you're going to see 6 or 7 expected goals per game, but there's only about 4 to 5 to 6 goals per game. The expected goals in the Edmonton-Vancouver game was slightly over 4.75. There were 9 goals in the game because of how bad the goaltending was. Like, it was just, you just watch it and you're just like, and Edmonton goes up 4-1. And then just completely takes their foot off the gas. They have 5 shots the rest of the game. It's just not a team that, like, steps on anyone's throat, which you have to do, by the way. Great job by Florida last night stepping on Boston's throat once they took control of that game. Edmonton just like, nah, we're good. It'll hold, no problem. And then it doesn't hold. Like, it just, man, I think Edmonton wins this series, and then I love the Stars or the Avs against them.
Edmonton with bad goaltending in the playoffs must be a year ending in a number. That's just
the fifth goal. Honestly, like, all of the goals were so bad that, like, that Skinner gave up. The one that there was an amazing deflection by JT Miller to be able to find literally, like, maybe a puck and a half worth of room, and he deflected it right through there. There should have been no room. Skinner goes out, like, aggressively to address a shot that has no chance of beating him with no screen, and then gets a tip by him because of it. The last goal, the fifth goal, was brutal with the fake slap shot and then slides it through his legs from inside the faceoff dot from absolutely no angle. Oh, by the way, the second goal goes off his paddle from behind the net. Like, it was just brutal to watch.
Well, hopefully this show wasn't brutal to watch, and hopefully Blinkers Off won't be either. They'll be on a little later this afternoon with their picks for Aqueduct's big stakes races, as well as talking Preakness Stakes news. So if you missed it at the top of the show, Mike brought up the fact that Tuscan Gold is going to scratch from the Peter Pan run in the Preakness. We could have, a good 10, 11 horses, hopefully, in that field, including the Kentucky Derby winner, Mystic Dan. Hopefully he shows up, keeps the public interest in that going as well. We appreciate your interest in this video. We'll be back. We'll probably skip Monday. We'll be back next Thursday for another Pick 5 show. And follow us on Twitter. I'm at Curtis Kalleward. He is at Somobomb 18, number 1, number 8. Corporate Overlords at Racing_Dudes. Also, Shoddy and Davey. Before I forget, Shoddy and Davey will be live later tonight for Dudes After Dark. They're going to start that at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, covering Churchill and Chuckytown and Evangeline Downs and all the same races I get to cover on FanDuel. So if you get to watch me on FanDuel, watch them right here. We'll be back Thursday. Until next time, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this week.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.